Hey, endmusers, what is going on? This is Lance Muser, and welcome to episode 2 of the endmuser Gaming Podcast. Really appreciate you guys checking out episode 1 last week. Big shout out to our community. Thank you all so much for hanging out and for the support and hanging out in our Discord. Really appreciate it. We all make it great. So just want to say right off the top of the show, appreciate you guys very much. And in this episode, we're going to talk about Destiny 2. We're going to talk about Elden Ring. We plan to talk about just a few news items, but Destiny 2 and the Elden Ring are two things we're playing right now, and some conversations around those games that we're going to plan on talking about probably the majority of the episode. So, with that said, would love if you join us in our Discord. Come hang out with our awesome community. Great people in there just talking about all things gaming, movies, collecting, all of the above. If you want to find a link to that, just hit up endmuser.com. endmuser.com. That will forward you to our link tree where our YouTube channels are linked, our Discord's linked, Twitter accounts, X accounts are linked, things like that. So really appreciate all the support. Check it out. We'd love to have you in our Discord. And with that said, let's jump right in. Destiny 2, the final shape. I almost said the Taken King. Thoughts so far. So we touched on this in episode 1 last week. Again, thank you to everybody that checked out that episode. If you haven't yet, jump back, check that one out. And before or after you want to finish this one, whichever. But we talked about the final shape. We've been playing that. And, right now, primary games we're playing, my son and I are playing Destiny 2, playing some Roblox and Fortnite and Minecraft with the kiddos. And I love all those games, of course. And final shape, Elden Ring with a little bit of Fortnite and those games mixed in. So the final shape, we finished the campaign, I think. We talked about that on last week's episode, but continued thoughts. So the campaign was solid. We talked about that. We're kind of diving into the quests, the Lost Ghost quests, things like that, grinding a little bit. We're still setting it around like 1955, 56, 57, somewhere in there. I've got friends and clanmates that are from our old Destiny community that are already like 2005. So I don't know what you guys are doing, but let us know some pro tips on how you're leveling so fast. I will say I was thinking about it for this episode. We're kind of grinding out like the final shape auxiliary quests. And it's kind of like, oh, let's get these done before, we move on to the actual power grind, if you will. We're getting power related rewards here and there. But yeah, so it's like, let's knock out all these auxiliary quests before we do some of the power grinding. And I was thinking like, why? I guess we don't have to do that. We keep getting these Lost Ghost quests. I don't know how many they are. I tried to Google it the other day without hitting too many spoilers, but we finish one and then we get another one. Finish one, get another one. So we're enjoying it. It's fun, and we're running some old strikes and things like that. But the grind of Destiny, while it sometimes can get stale later into a season or an episode, it's always fun to kick it off. And I mean, it usually continues being fun, but definitely the front part of it, it's like, oh, I want to power grind, do some of these higher end activities, things like that. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. It's been fun, and I haven't dabbled into crafting a lot into Destiny. So I'm kind of learning that with my son, as well. And we had to do a couple Witch Queen quests to kind of get him caught up on that. So, it's been a good time. It's been fun. If you guys are playing it, curious what your thoughts are. If you're doing some higher end content or the raid, I thought I watched a little bit on the raid. I've maybe seen a part of an encounter, but not really though. I haven't seen much on it. So curious on your thoughts on the raid. If you want to drop that in our Discord or the YouTube comments, let us know what your thoughts are on the raid. You can always email us too at inmuser@gmail.com. But yeah, another thing I wanted to touch on, there obviously is a conversation still going on right now in the Destiny community about the episode structure and how the content is coming out with the episodes. I think we talked about that a little bit last week as well. But this week, while we're not caught up on the episodes again, because we've kind of been doing those side quests and such, we did do a little bit on I think maybe the first week of failsafe stuff. But I had heard somewhere, and I think I mentioned it in episode 1, that there was going to be 3 weeks of story for the episode, and then we wouldn't get anything until Act 2. I don't know where I heard that, but that in fact is what happened this week. I started to see rumblings and some posts that you get a I don't know if this is a spoiler. I mean, it's not really a spoiler. It's just kind of what's going to happen at the end of this week's this resets content. You get a tooltip and a quest that says it'll continue in Act 2. Obviously, people are still, players are still trying to figure out, okay, is episodes what we really thought it was going to be? I'll say, I mean, what was it? With seasons, you'd probably get 6 or 7 weeks of story, and then it was grindage after that, basically. And then maybe some story beats at the end of the season leading into the next season. This appears to be 3 weeks of story and then 3 weeks off, and then 3 weeks when the next act starts, and then 3 weeks off. It appears as though that's going to be the structure. And I don't know. It's interesting. 3 weeks is not very long. And we're talking, this is piggybacking off of the big DLC release. So, how is this going to feel just when a new episode starts and it's not paired with a big expansion drop? So it's just interesting. It doesn't seem too much different than seasons, and they're supposed to last longer. Maybe it'll feel okay in Act 2. We get 3 more weeks. Act 3, we get 3 more weeks, if that indeed is how it's going to be. But I don't know. It's just kind of up in the air right now how it's going to feel as far as an entirety of a season and what that's going to feel like. Curious what you guys think, of course. Let us know in all the feeds, wherever you like to hang out at with us, and let us know what your thoughts are if you're playing the final shape. Definitely, there's going to be things dropped, like GM Nightfalls dropped this week. The raid challenges dropped this week. I think there maybe is an exotic quest or a quest or something on the roadmap. And hopefully, Bungie's definitely back in the day were really good with some surprising stuff and random stuff. We'll have a seasonal event. So maybe that'll kind of create a bridge between some of these story breaks, if you will. But just not sure at this moment. We'll just kind of hang out, play the content, and see what we think. We're having fun grinding. We're playing a little bit here and there every other day or so, and just kind of slowly grinding through the content. It'll be one of those, we'll catch up at some point and continue our journey and get that power level up. Excited to maybe jump in an old dungeon or two that I haven't played. And we'll keep you posted kind of on where we're at there. The next thing to talk about is Elden Ring. Of course, Shadow of the Erdtree came out. I mentioned last week that I'm revisiting a new character and, rolled a new character. I played a decent amount on a couple different characters, but nowhere near. I'm sure I didn't even make it like a third of the way through the game. So, starting fresh like I do when I go back to a game, I will say I am very much enjoying myself with Elden Ring's base game right now. It is very fun. It's a good time. This is funny, and some of you that play Elden Ring might be like, dude, how are you not seeing this? But I never really looked at Elden Ring as like a loot game like I would Destiny. I just, I looked at it as a challenging game, big bosses, prepare to try and try again and try again. But we were talking in our Discord, and maybe some buddies, we'll talk about them later as well in their community. But from another community I joined, we were talking about just the loot in the game, and that there's a lot of loot. I was talking to my buddy Necessary Evil about it, and he wikied real quick how much actual loot is in the game. I didn't realize that. I guess bosses could drop certain items like you'd see in a loot-based game, and it's a lower percentage or can be very rare sometimes. But I don't know if that just opened up a whole nother channel for the game for me. I'm playing it now. I love just searching everywhere in the game, seeing if there's a cave over here, or seeing this is there, trying this again and trying that again, and oh, this is a boss. And now when you add the loot aspect in, and I see what some of these guys are carrying, and I'm like, oh man, they probably have a chance to drop that. And now I'm exploring okay, do I want 2 swords? I got a shield. I rolled a samurai, so I've got that samurai attack where you sheathe the weapon. And you can kind of probably tell by the way I'm talking. I'm like, okay, all right. I dug Elden Ring before, but yeah, this is okay. I get it. Again, this is fun. I understand. But with that said, that kind of gives you an idea of where I'm at with the game and what I've played on the game. The conversation right now, if you've seen, is about the DLC being too hard. And, I'm not playing the DLC, obviously. I believe you have to beat a couple bosses to access the DLC. But I've definitely tried to stay in tune in that conversation, trying to avoid spoilers that I probably would forget anyways by the time, if and when I got to the DLC. But there's definitely some things going around right now that the DLC that came out is too hard. They've since actually released a patch, I think kind of making it a little easier to get some of the materials to, or at least making them stronger earlier on in the DLC for your character. I was surprised that they released a patch because I believe the director and or someone from the team released an article saying that making the game easier would uh, essentially break the game. And I don't think he was just talking about the base game. But with that said, the conversation basically is that from my research, uh, is that it seems, well, one, to enter or experience a DLC, I believe you have to beat a certain boss or two in the base game. And then from what I've understand and what I've researched, there's a new leveling system outside of just the rune-based leveling system. You get runes, you level up your character. There's another leveling system. And with this leveling system, you have to go out and find fragments. And even with this, it's taking, and I think someone from our community mentioned, and we may touch on this later, mentioned that they've been playing for 20 hours and not even leveled up potentially. So basically, people are saying one or two shot by bosses is what's happening, and on top of that, the survivability. So bosses are one or two shot in the survivability with the new leveling system. The game is just too difficult, is what some players are reporting. So if I'm missing any other aspects or some of these details are inaccurate, definitely comment. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts. We definitely want to hear your thoughts. Let us know just to kind of keep the conversation going. My opinion on this is, again, I'm coming from this as a player who has dabbled in Souls games and I've enjoyed them. I've never beaten any of them. I've got Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, played them all a bit, not to completion. So Elden Ring has definitely been my favorite up to this point. And, with this, you might think, oh, he may fall on the category of the game doesn't need to be so hard you're not enjoying yourself. But it's actually not. Where I land on this is when you're going into a game like a FromSoft game, you prepare yourself. You know what you're getting into. I remember back in the day when there were more games like that where if you didn't beat a level or beat a boss, you had to start over and you had to do it again. I mean, we're talking all the way to OG Mario. You had to start over, start the entire game over again if you ran out of lives. So, it's like, in my opinion, and again, I'm not experiencing the DLC right now, so there could be some other factors, but it's like you dig in, you learn, figured out your strat, and you go at it again. When I jump into Destiny 2, just general grindage, I don't have to prep for that kind of play really. I just kind of jump in and I do my thing. Whereas Elden Ring, I kind of prepare myself. All right, I know what I'm getting into. And especially with that type of game where it's clearly all about the challenge of the game, and not only the challenge of the game, but the challenge placed on you and your character to get past certain obstacles, basically. So it does seem like the patch and solution, from what I read, it seems like they're, like I mentioned earlier, making it easier to hit maybe some of the earlier levels with the new leveling system or the additional leveling system. So that kind of seems like it could make sense and appease some of the players that believe it's too hard. But yeah, anyways, that in and of itself reminds me of, back in the day. Nowadays you have a huge patch at the release of a video game. Back in the day, you got that cartridge and that was the game. Like that's the game you're playing. Polished or not, super hard, not hard enough. This is what you get, and this is what you're gonna enjoy, And if you didn't, you just went and played something else. So I feel like these Souls games have a sense of that, and it helps, that they're typically very polished and fleshed out. Now, by polished and fleshed out, I mean the mechanics and system in the game, like play tested kind of stuff. We can get into the reviews. Review bombing isn't something that I'm a fan of, but it does seem like, from what I've picked up on, some of these reviews aren't just because the game's too hard. It's because of the PC performance. And I think we had some of that with the base Elden Ring game as well. So that's understandable if the game's not performing well from a platform standpoint. But again, being hard or not performing well, to me are two different things. So enjoy what you enjoy. Let us know your thoughts in the Discord, in the YouTube comments. Email us, endmuser@gmail.com. Let us know if you're playing the game, what you think. Of course, you can go to endmuser.com and you can find links to all of those things. So just a touch too, speaking of community and us chatting about it in our Discord, Dilly D said, I asked, kind of posed a question about the DLC being too hard in our Discord. He said he thinks, highly thinks that it being too hard is untrue. The original game was fairly challenging, pre-nerf. It was insane, he says. And there's a boss name here, Radon, maybe? Radon? I could be saying it wrong, obviously. A little bit of an Elden Ring noob. Yes, it's challenging, and take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I'm super early in it. But no boss has reached Orphan of Kos level for me. It is very fun. More Elden Ring is always worth celebrating. Whenever FromSoft makes a new game or DLC, I love the atmosphere. It's like back in the day, an adventure game would come out, and it's all pre-internet, and you're talking about it with your buddies on the bus, and it's very nice. That window of time does shorten, of course, but it's very nice and refreshing. At least that's my personal experience. So that's funny. He says back in the day, too. Wonder if we're around the same age. So yeah, it's I totally understand that feeling. He says that feeling while gaming is just peak gaming. It's so nice in this day and age. So I get where Souls games kind of touch on that. Penza says, yeah, I wouldn't say anything is too hard. It definitely feels like a bunch of in-game level stuff, but that's how it should be. It's on par with any DLC they've done in their previous games. So that makes sense. Raguchi says, it's not too, this is funny. It's not too hard, to keep it brief. How funny is that? So it's not too hard, straight up. All of these three gents that I just mentioned, they're from a community I recently joined called the Delco Nerd Network. They've got a YouTube channel, regular podcast about games and movies, very much like our community. So jump in their Discord. I can drop it in the description as well. Check out their community. So anyways, of course, we got one more feedback on the DLC. My good old buddy, Necessary Evil, says, yeah, people cried too much instead of exploring to find Scadutree fragments, which is, I believe, the new material you need to advance and level in the DLC. So Necessary Evil kind of saying it straight up there. The game's not too hard. These guys all are very invested in the game, and I think their thoughts and comments mean a lot on the topic. Obviously, some new players can come in and it stinks that the game's so hard that they stop playing it. You don't want that. But you do want to keep the core and the idea of the game there as well. So anyways, with that said, let's move on. Talk a little bit about Diablo 4. Season 4 we talked about last week, and my good old buddy and OG member of our community, R Velvet, said regarding this current season, Season 4, he said, love to hear another podcast. Really like the format. Changes in Diablo are dope. Twister Dual Swing Barb is a blast to play. Got mine to 100. Started a human lightning druid. I didn't get enough of that last season. Leveling seems much better. Min-maxing is 100% better, and the streamlining of affixes is all better. Bought the D2 expansion, but can't put down Diablo yet. It calls me. With Elden Ring out, Destiny may get pushed back. I am so bad at Souls games, but Elden Ring just hits different. Really looking forward to that. So, Velvet, thanks so much for the feedback on Diablo. Really appreciate that. We still haven't jumped in anymore since we talked last episode, so it's great to hear Season 4 is good. You're having a blast with it, so we hope to jump in maybe at some point. We did get a campfire chat with Blizzard either in the last week or two, and they kind of released some info on Season 5. They said there's going to be a new quest line after the main story events that'll lead up to the fall expansion. They said a new horde mode called Infernal Hordes. They gave some details on that. New legendaries, uniques, and items. Quality of life updates to in-game bosses. And Diablo 4 Season 5, which doesn't have a name yet, will launch on August 6th. So that stuff's all really cool. There's going to be a PTR, I believe, later July that you can check it out. So if you're playing Diablo 4, let us know your thoughts. To touch on just a couple news items, PlayStation released or Sony released a report that they're cutting investment in VR with only 2 titles in development. So I know they're gearing up, I believe, for a kind of a PC option with the PlayStation VR headset. So that's interesting, VR is one of those things you feel like it would take off, but it seems to have struggled over the years. We have a Quest. We have a good time with it. The kids have a good time with it too. So just interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what kind of VR goes at this point. Also, another kind of news item that popped up today, Xbox and Amazon are teaming up to bring Game Pass Ultimate streaming to Amazon Fire Stick devices. So that's interesting. If you got a Fire Stick, you will be able to download, what does this say here? Xbox Fire Stick TV 4K Max devices. Players with either of these devices and a Bluetooth-enabled wireless controller will be able to access the Xbox streaming library through an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate membership. So, hey, check that out. We'll have to see what the quality's like and the streaming on that. So, yeah, let us know your thoughts. We did want to kind of give a little bit of a shout out to a section of our podcast we're going to call End Musings currently. Basically, a little section of the show carved out for you guys to jump in the conversation, jump in our Discord podcast submissions channel or YouTube comments or email us endmuser@gmail.com and just let us know gaming topics you want to see covered or talked about, your thoughts, and or just what games you're playing and your thoughts on those games. So definitely let us know and drop a comment in any of those categories or any of those areas if you want. So yeah, that's the episode this week. A little bit longer than the 15 minutes we thought about. We're still trying to kind of lock down show link, show release date, things like that. We kind of mentioned in the Discord that it might be more of a spontaneous kind of thing. So yeah, we hope you enjoy it. Episode 2 of the endmuser Gaming Podcast. Really appreciate all the support. Jump over to endmuser.com for all the links. We'd love to have you in our Discord. And yeah, thanks for checking it out. Thanks for all the support. Come hang out with our awesome community. And as always, until next time, take care.